Words hurt. Those are the two words, when paired together, is one of the most, if not the most pernicious slogan that has ruined and rotted society over the past few decades, because it's just patently untrue. When was the last time somebody was hospitalized when they were beaten from head to toe, broken bones because of words? Somebody says. Absolutely not. You can only take offense to something if you allow it to take offense to you. Which is why I pointed it out at the time when I did the video on it of Jimmy Kimmel's rather unfunny. Some people said it was tasteless. I just thought that it was a bad joke. The behalf of, Robert Downey Jr.'s, recovery. Former addict, very publicly a former and recovering addict. His response to, Jimmy saying something about him being higher than he's ever been, this is a high point of his career, but not of his life. It wasn't even as funny or witty as that, but, Robert's response to that just, is like a little bit on the nose, pointing to his nose, taking it all in stride because he knew he was going to receive a well-deserved Oscar on the night, and wasn't going to let anything go by the wayside. And now that we have clarification on that, of him saying, I don't really care what Jimmy was talking about, mostly because everybody's forgotten about the Oscars and we're not even a month removed from them. How crazy is that? This is how a man conducts himself, okay? Robert Downey Jr. is a good dude. He has some strange dietary practices, but to each their own. He's an accomplished man. He's definitely a role model for a lot of people that are out there. How do you come back from a drug addiction that puts you in jail, becomes the face of the highest grossing movie franchise in Hollywood history, the highest paid actor in said franchise, turn that all inward into a singular performance that ends up you achieving the highest accolades in your industry? That's a legitimate role model that Hollywood, if they had their sense about them, would be put in front and center everywhere. But no, because he's not out there trying to outrage farm. He gets pushed to the side because that's not the message. There's no money to be making on accountability, stoicism. Like, come on now, we need outrage. We need more people like Humza Yousaf taking offense to what J.K. Rowling posts on social media, which is just basically the same old boilerplate talking points that they probably have a lot in common about. And they have a lot of agreements, except for one specific issue. If you're unfamiliar with who Humza Yousaf is, he's the guy who had this infamous clip, I think right before, in and around 2018, 2019. He was a minister for something in Scotland, and as you can tell, nice traditional Scottish name, Humza Yousaf, where he was going around Scottish Parliament going, first minister, white, second minister, white. It's like, yeah, it's a 94% white country. What do you expect? So he's a professional victim. And now he's the first minister of Scotland. Fantastic. Nobody hates themselves more than the Scots. But instead of, solving some long-standing Scottish problems, he wants to go ahead and attack and investigate J.K. Rowling for what, literary crimes against humanity. I like Harry Potter quite a bit, okay? Never read the books because, well, J.K. Rowling can barely write. But I like the films well enough. I really like the world that she mostly lifted from better IPs. And yes, I agree with her on her stance that, guess what, this big controversial stance that men are men and women are women. But the rest of her ideas are absolute dog water because she's a third wave feminist who doesn't go along with trans ideology. So conservacucks that are out there that want to try to hold her up as some sort of beacon as, oh, we finally got one on our side. Never underestimate the ability for conservatives to betray their own standing in order to just get public acceptance. It's pathetic. But anyways, on to this story. Transgender activist in Scotland, First Minister Humza Yousaf melts down after police determines J.K. Rowling's social media post addressing transgender women as men are not criminal. They want J.K. Rowling, Humza Yousaf, wants J.K. Rowling thrown in jail because she has some spicy jokes about dudes in drag. Okay. In what has been a fascinating unfolding of events, Scottish police have determined that Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling comments about transgender individuals are not to be considered hate speech under the country's draconian new Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act. And oh yeah, up here in Canada, in my neck of the woods, we got something like that coming down the pipe as well. In a series of posts shared to her official X account, Rowling mockingly referred to several transgender women as women, only to later drop the act and declare that these posts were an April Fool's joke and that the transgender women she brought attention to were in fact men pretending to be women. I'm sure that it was a really difficult find in order to deduce biological sex. Furthermore, Rowling defied Scottish authorities to arrest her if her posts she made decrying transgender ideology fell into any of the categories, deeming her comments as a hate crime, specifically declaring freedom of speech and belief are, at the end of the day, in Scotland if the accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. Yes, when telling the truth is criminalized, you have truly failed as a society, and don't worry, we're right at its doorstep, okay? We're standing right there on the welcome mat, and we're about to ring the doorbell, even though I knocked at the door. My mistake. She'd later add, I'm currently out of the country, but what if I've written... Oh, but what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act. I look forward to being arrested when I return to my birthplace of Scottish enlightenment. In the coverage of the news, BBC News reports that police Scotland received over 3,000 complaints. 2,900 were from Humza himself about Rowling's post following the enforcement of the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act this past Monday. Can you imagine not having anything better to do than to simply report the tweets of an author? Stephen King, on an hourly basis, tweets out far more offensive stuff, mostly ideologically offensive. Not speaking to any specific collection of ideas, but just it's an assault on the senses what he tweets out there. I couldn't be bothered to report anything that clown does. If you don't like it, guess what? It's this crazy thing. It's this crazy thing when it comes to internet comments, okay? If you don't like what you see on this little screen, you can just do this crazy thing. Turn it off and throw it away. But these people are terminally online, and that's who we're supposed to defend as a society now, right? Per The Independent, a spokesperson for Police Scotland declared on Tuesday, we have received complaints in relation to a social media post regarding Rowling's comments on X. The comments were not assessed to be criminal, and no further action will be taken. Really should have busted out a Scottish accent for that. My mistake. Reacting to the news reporting that her April Fool's Day comments did not break Scotland's new hate crime law, Rowling wrote, I hope every woman in Scotland who wishes to speak up for the reality, the importance of the biological sex, just trying to rally the sisterhood, this is why I just despise this stuff, will be reassured by this announcement. And I trust that all women, irrespective of profile or financial means, will be treated equally under the law. Just the women though, the men though, yeah, we don't really care about them because they're the oppressors. Showing her commitment to the cause, Rowling would go on to declare that she is willing to support anyone who is charged with speaking the truth, asserting, if they go after any woman for simply calling a man, I'll repeat that woman's words and they will charge us both at once. When the author was challenged about her ability to financially defend herself. Yeah, this is the same airhead who also said that no person is illegal, no such thing as an illegal alien, okay? But then when asked, why don't you put one up in one of your many mansions? Don't you have multiple beds that you could give away to a refugee? She was a very mum on the subject. Well, the Harry Potter author received an overwhelming amount of support on social media because, yeah, this gets her a lot of views. As you can see, 3 million views on that very screenshot right there. Like, this gets her good traction. It's far less controversial because this is pretty much black and white. You got like 90% of the people on her side and then just the terminally online crowd that's out there. And then, of course, you got the smaller slice of that pie that's just a contrarian crowd that just wants to dunk on you. Professional agitators like grannies for equality. Oh, stop it. If you really are grannies, show me how big your font is on your jitterbug. Hate-filled, arrogant, privileged, and cruel. Ex-user Grannies for Equal said of Rowling, added, what a thoroughly nasty person. How so, though? Just a reminder that JKR doesn't speak for women of Scotland. She doesn't speak up for the reality, nor does she understand biological sex. Is somebody looking in a mirror when they wrote this? As a feminist, I'm sorry, I should update my accent for this. As a feminist, we do not want to be defined by our reproductive organs. Yeah, okay, cool. Then we'll just go by what your physical appearance manifest says. You, Teresa, are a woman. I will treat you as such by paying you no mind to your comments on the internet. But as you can see, the people that are taking offense to what J.K. Rowling has to say, not people that you would take advice from. So why even bother wasting your time taking criticism from them? And so that leads us to our first minister of spazzing, Humza Yousaf, who was also amongst individuals taking offense at Rowling's comments decrying transgender ideology, though finding himself in agreement with the decision made by the Police Scotland. Let me get into his Scottish accent. These new offences that have been created by the Act have a very high threshold for criminality. The behavior to be threatening or abusive and intends to stir up hatred, so it doesn't deal with people just being offended or upset or insulted. Oh no, he said through gritted teeth. Anybody who read the act will not have been surprised at all that there is no arrest made. Rowling's tweets may well be offensive, upsetting, and insulting to trans people, both of them in Scotland, but it doesn't mean that they are met a threshold of criminality. So we'd like to introduce this new bill that would make those criminal tweets of being threatened or abusive and intending to stir up hatred. No, by simply stating facts. This is the state of the Western world at this point in time, where we're wasting government time debating if it's hateful to say if a woman is a woman or a man is a man. That's where we're at. I'm so glad that we've progressed so far, that we're here in 2024. We're here debating such realities. No wonder the rest of the world hates the West's guts to its core. That and, well, some other issues that we won't delve into right now. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.